Iowa football consistently produces elite offensive linemen. I could go on for a long time about certain players, but the last two that really come to mind are Tristan Wirfs and Tyler Linderbaum. Wirfs is one of the best offensive line prospects we've seen in the last decade, and Linderbaum was a first-round center in this year's draft. Both of them were spectacular for the Hawkeyes, but they may have just landed a recruit that is better than both of them. In today's video, we're going to talk about this football prodigy, we're going to talk about who Iowa just landed on the recruiting trail, we're going to meet the best recruit in the state of Iowa's history, and talk about him and his impact on the program. Just for reference, he committed to Iowa over Alabama, and this sent shockwaves across the college football recruiting world. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So you're probably wondering who the subject of today's video is, and it is none other than 2023 5-star offensive lineman Kadyn Proctor. But who the heck is this guy? Well, he's the highest rated recruit in the recruiting era to come out of the state of Iowa, and this guy has always been a major target for the Iowa Hawkeyes staff, but who the heck is he, and how did he get to this point? Well, he was born and raised in the state of Iowa, and eventually got to Southeast Polk High School, and that school has produced a lot of talent over the last few years. From early on in his high school days, he was called the next great Iowa lineman. As a sophomore, he was 6'7" with a size 18 shoe, and he had offers from schools such as Alabama, Texas, LSU, Tennessee, Ohio State, Oklahoma, and of course, both of the flagship state schools in Iowa and Iowa State. At 15 years old, Proctor was seen as a super recruit, and this did kind of have his mom concerned. She said, quote, "It worries me at times now, just all the attention he gets. But he's really mature, and he's handling it well." This was not the beginning for him though, as when he entered his freshman season of high school, he just hoped to play offensive line, but before his sophomore year even started, he picked up 5 scholarship offers, the first of which came from a big-time program in Kansas State. One day, him and a couple of buddies went on an unofficial visit to Iowa, and they got to see Tristan Wirfs. This left an impact on Proctor, and he basically began to idolize him. He said, quote, "I saw him eating in the dining hall, and we walked past him. We were sitting down right next to the table he was at, and I got to see him practice that day, and we got to see him eat." Yeah, that is sort of a strange quote, but Wirfs was the exact guy that Proctor should be modeling his game after. He was a big-time 4-star recruit who came from the Des Moines area as well, but he committed to Iowa pretty early, so his recruitment was not that national. Proctor, on the other hand, was going to have a very national recruitment. The two did become friends, and Wirfs was sort of a mentor to the younger player. The buzz would really hit a new level when Nick Saban called him in his locker room one day and told him that he loved his film and also told him how he could improve. Everyone respects Coach Saban, and you listen to what he has to say. This apparently meant a ton to Kadyn, and this is when everyone knew this guy was a big deal. The guy had the size and the ability to be great, but why was he seen as a prodigy? Well, one scout had this to say, quote, "The thing that I think separates him for as young as he is he's got some nastiness to him. I mean, he loves the game of football. He's tough. He's exhibited that in a short time that he's been with us, and he really likes to compete. The technical part of playing offensive line, he does have some work to do, but I think he'd be the first to admit that. He's always willing to work and get better, and that's a good trait to have." So yeah, he was starting to blow up on the national radar, and there's not a lot of weaknesses in his game, so as he would finish his junior year, he was a 5-star prospect and was an extremely highly sought after recruit. But where would he go? Well, the Hawkeyes were obviously a local school, and they've had major success with offensive linemen, so there was no reason for him not to consider them. He also would consider Iowa State, but Tristan Wirfs told him which Iowa school to go to. It seemed pretty quickly that Iowa State was out of the running for Proctor, but would the Hawkeyes be able to keep him home? Because literally, he had an offer from every school in America pretty much. Well, in a shocker, the first school he actually visited was Arkansas State, and that is where his former high school quarterback Jackson Daly was. He also visited Iowa, and then visited Alabama. He apparently loved the visit, and he loved the track record of Alabama, so there was no reason why many thought that the Crimson Tide were not the frontrunner to land him. 2 other schools that were listed in his final 5 were Penn State and Oregon, but he decided to cancel both of those visits. For his recruitment, it would ultimately come down to Alabama and Iowa, and in the last 20 years, both of these schools have been insane. Bama has produced 10 first-round offensive linemen, while Iowa has produced 6. What does this mean? Well, it means they're the top 2 schools in the nation, and they've had 16 combined first-round linemen in this century, so either way, he was not going to be making the wrong decision. He could go to Alabama, play on a national stage, get developed by elite coaches, and probably become a first-round pick, or he could stay home, be a fan favorite, and also likely be a first-round pick. The question is, what was he going to do? Well, he didn't offer much before his commitment, as he said, quote, "Those two schools are my top two. It just makes sense to have the two best offensive line schools in my top two because that's what I want to do." It seems that Proctor had always been making a business decision, and it seemed like he had a great support system and great people around him to guide him through the process. In terms of his long-term NFL potential, Bama did make a little bit more sense, but the Hawkeyes also had a few more connections to offer, and they had a few tricks up their sleeves. His former teammate was a guy by the name of Xavier Nwankpa. I really hope I pronounced his name right, but he was a class of 2022 recruit who was huge. He was the #1 player in the state of Iowa, the #5 safety, and the 53rd best player nationally. According to a couple of other sites, he was actually a 5-star, but in the composite, he was obviously a little bit lower. In terms of talking about Nwankpa, the Hawkeyes found a way to land him. He had serious interest from both Ohio State and Notre Dame, and many recruiting experts thought he would go there. Ultimately, Nwankpa would choose to stay home and play for Iowa. He'll be going into his freshman season this fall, and as I said, he was a 5-star according to some sites, but either way, this is one of the biggest recruiting wins in Iowa Hawkeyes football history. Add in the fact that Proctor also knew Tristan Wirfs pretty well and wore his same number, maybe the Hawkeyes had a real chance to pull this one out. That is what they did, as he ultimately chose the Hawkeyes over 40 scholarship offers. He said, quote, "First off, I would like to thank God for blessing me with the life I was given and for the talents that have been bestowed upon me. Without him, I would be nobody. I never thought that I would be in the position that I am today, and most know that. I'm so thankful for my parents and guardians who have given me the advice and shown me perspective throughout my choice. With that being said, I would like to further my football and academic career at the University of Iowa." He took to social media saying this, and this sent shockwaves across the recruiting world. So yeah, his statement was pretty general and pretty typical for a recruit, so why did he actually choose Iowa? Well, he did actually elaborate in a quote. He said, "I could see the development at Iowa, the offensive line development more specifically. I'm breaking down academics and football, and the city life and everything else." So basically, I think he saw the same opportunity at Iowa that he did at Alabama, but I think he wanted the opportunity to stay home and be the hometown hero. I don't think it would have been the wrong choice for him to go to Alabama, but this is definitely really cool to see. As we've said multiple times, this guy is the highest ranked recruit in Iowa football history since the recruiting databases started to take over. There could have been some bigger players back in the day, but I'm not quite sure there were. Proctor is a 5-star player and is currently ranked as the 7th best recruit in the class of 2023. For some reason, 24/7 Sports only has him listed as a 4-star recruit, even though he's the 7th player ranked, but I know each player has to earn that 5th star, and in a couple weeks he'll probably have that, and for sure by the end of the year he will. He's the kind of player who's going to dominate and probably start from the get-go, as I believe Wirfs was one of the first freshmen to ever start at left tackle, and I see no reason why Proctor won't do the same. Iowa fans are extremely hyped up for this commitment, and I think this guy will just be the next great lineman at a school that is a factory at producing them. If I'm an Iowa fan, I'm super pumped about this, and I'm very excited to watch him in the future, and I honestly would not worry about him flipping. Sometimes a player blows up or gets a bigger offer, but there is no bigger offer than Alabama, and since this guy is looking to play on Sundays, he's already considered every option, and he decided to go with Iowa, so I see no reason why he would flip. Either way, this is huge for Iowa. I'm super pumped, and I definitely want to know what you guys think. If you're a Hawkeyes fan, what do you think of this commitment? How do you think Iowa will do in 2022? And what player, topic, or recruit could I take a look at in my next video? Be sure to let me know down below, smash that like button if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you are new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.